I personally, as much as my kid is going private school, I don't feel like, for example, my second son, we're looking at putting him into a grammar school. He's very, very educated. Like, he's very good at tests. He's very academic is the word I was trying to say. So he loves doing tests, and at school he does well on all his tests, spelling, writing, maths. He's already ahead in everything and so forth. So he's doing a year above work. So for him, we're already preparing him for the grammar school tests and so forth. So again, not because one child is going private school, all my kids must go private school. Do you know what I mean? I just felt that for this particular child, that this made sense. And I think you've got a balance. Like, there's no pressure. Like, at the end of the day, if I would have got the school I wanted, my son would not be in private school right now. That's a fact. I'm never going to say that. But am I happy that he is? Am I seeing, even in this early start of the year where he's starting, am I seeing differences? Yes. Am I seeing him, coming out of his shell? Yes. So for me, I'm definitely happy that I spent that money. I feel the environment that he's in, and also the networking. I mean, at the end of the day, the types of parents that we're able to meet and network with, they tend to be doing quite well as well. So, it's not just a benefit for my child, it's a benefit to me as well as a parent, and, the types of networks you want to make for ourselves, but also for him, the types of people that he may be in class with now, they could go on to do great things as well as him. And that's a network that we're building from now. So I think these are important, Some of the times going to these certain other types of schools, you might have friends in the moment, but you don't have friends that you can rely on that can help you get a job or help you in the future. And I hope that this will be a benefit to him, and he will see benefit from that, for having the benefit of going to private school and so forth. So that's the big thing for me. I don't think there's any right or wrong. If your child goes to state school, there are some great state schools. So I'm not saying that state schools are bad or throw them in a bin or they shouldn't exist. Like, there are some great state schools. I think homeschooling works, depending on your individual circumstance. And definitely private school is there. Where I think, when it comes to private school, sometimes I think people put too much pressure on themselves with the private school thing. For me personally, if it's the difference between should I buy a house or save for a deposit for a house, or should I put my kids into private school, I would hope people would choose property or building assets, because there's no guarantee your child could go to private school and then still end up saying, I don't want to go to work, or they don't have that drive to go and succeed or do anything. So I feel like where I see an issue is that I see parents getting into debt to pay for these private school fees, and there's no real guarantee that their child is going to go on to get this 100K plus job and then start giving them money or paying back these loans or whatever. And I get it's an investment in your child's future, but not an investment at the detriment of your whole family legacy. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, I don't feel like your legacy should be, I sent my kids to private school. I don't think when you die, the only thing that you can say that you did was send your kids to private school. I don't think that's the way it should be. Do you know what I mean? I think there are some great state schools. I think you can also pay for tutoring and get tutoring support and so forth if you really want your kids to get great education. I think, like, let's not put building wealth, like, education over building wealth. Like, let's say, look, we're building wealth, and if we can build wealth and afford to pay for private school, then let's do that. But if we can't, then let's send them to a state school. If we can't find the school that we want, we can appeal. You can look to move house. Do you know what I mean? To move to a better area. And that's another thing that I really want us to really start to be intentional about, is that don't just buy the house just because you maybe live in a certain area, you want to live in a certain area. Actually think, especially once you start having children, think about, okay, what's the plan? Like, what school do you want them to go to? What area do you want to live in? Do you know what I mean? And make sure you have provisions for that. I know a lot of parents who own a house in one area, but they rent a house in another area so their kids can go to school in that area. Because again, if you have a good school in an area, those house prices become really high. So it might be a case of, you say to yourself, well, I can't afford to buy in that area, but I can buy in another area and have a property there, and then I can rent in an area where I can send my kids to a certain school and then rent out the home that I own. Let's start being wise about it, because sometimes it's just where you want to buy in regards to being near a really good school, it might cost too much. And also you might not actually want to live in that area long term. You might only want to live in that area to send your kids to that school. But once your kids are no longer in school, do you still want to be in that area? So if you can't afford that area, or if that area is really expensive, then it might be better to say, okay, let's rent in the short term in this area so my kids can get that education. And again, see it as an investment. Okay, I'm investing, I'm paying this rent that I could avoid paying if they went to a school in another area. But also say, look, where I've bought, we can rent that out. Let's be wise with our investments, do you know what I mean? And wise with our money and our choices. And to do that, you have to have a plan. And it always comes back to, I always tell people, it always comes back to having a plan. Like, what's your plan for the future? If you know you want your kids to go to a certain school, then start planning, how are we going to make that happen? What are the things we need to do? One of the reasons our son didn't get into the school next to us is, he said it's a Catholic school. We already go to church. So we told him, look, we go to this church and that's the church we go to, and we've been going to our whole lives. But there are other people who maybe don't go to church that will go to a certain church, or go to a Catholic church, for example, in order to qualify so their kids can go to a certain school. Sometimes you've got to be intentional with the things that you're doing in order to make it happen. So that's the big thing I want people to say. Like, there's no right, wrong. Like, do what's right for you. I think there's a place for homeschooling, there's a place for state school, and there's a place for private school. But let's not act like private school is this golden chalice, or private school, because your kids go to private school, that's it, you're set for life. Like, do you know what I mean? There are loads of people who have been privately educated and haven't taken it to the next level. Make sure that, you're utilizing the benefits of the education system for you, and don't force, like, especially in today's age, like, education isn't the same as it used to be, as in you don't necessarily need to be the highest educated person in order to get paid the highest amount of money. There are loads of influencers online that maybe never even finished, maybe didn't even finish school, that are getting paid more than people who have got, degrees and so forth. There are loads of influencers getting paid more than nurses, more than doctors, more than lawyers. So what I'm saying is that things have changed, careers have changed, jobs have changed, society has changed. So let's not put ourselves in debt or in financial difficulty paying for something that we can't afford. I hope it helped. I hope you liked the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know your comments below. Will you send your kids to private school? Do you think state school is good enough? Will you think about homeschooling? And also, if there's any other topics you want me to discuss, then let me know. All right, thank you.